My parents left me nothing in the will, just a note that said, "She was there when you weren't." I didn't cry at the funeral, not because I wasn't sad, but because there was nothing left to give. Grief had already hollowed me out. By the time my mother followed my father 3 weeks later, I was just empty, numb. The kind of numb that doesn't ache anymore. It just lingers, like background static. I flew in the night before the service. Landed at a half-shuttered regional airport that smelled of wet carpet and old coffee. The rental car they handed me had a cracked windshield and a sticky steering wheel. Nobody came to pick me up. Nobody even called to ask if I needed help. That silence was the first sign. The second was the lawyer. A thin man named Wilkins, with parchment skin and a voice clipped short, like I'd already disappointed him just by existing. He didn't bother with small talk when I stepped into his office. "You might want to sit," he said flatly. So I did. He slid a folder across the desk, tapping one finger on the manila edge. "This is the will. As executor, I'm obligated to inform you that you are not a beneficiary." I stared at him. "Excuse me." His eyes finally met mine. "Your parents left everything to Ms. Claire Donovan." The name landed like a brick to the chest. "Claire? As in, Mom's nurse Claire?" Wilkins nodded. "That's correct. The house, assets, all accounts." A half laugh escaped me, brittle and sharp. "You're joking." "I'm not. They left a note for you, though." He slid a sealed envelope across the desk. My hands trembled as I tore it open. 10 words stared back at me. "She was there when you weren't." That was it. No greeting. No signature. No love, no goodbye. Just a verdict. I kept reading it, as if more might appear. Some hidden message, some explanation. But there was nothing. Just those 10 words. Claire. Jesus Christ. Claire. I hadn't seen her in 5 years. Not since we'd. I forced that thought out of my head. Not now. "Is this even legal?" I asked, my voice brittle. Wilkins sighed. "It is. Notarized, witnessed, airtight." I stood so quickly the chair scraped the floor. "Do you know where she is?" He raised an eyebrow. "Ms. Donovan?" "Yeah. I want to talk to her." "She lives in the house. Moved in right after your mother passed." I nodded slowly, my chest burning. Of course she did. I walked out without another word. The drive to the house felt like descending into a memory I never wanted to revisit. Every bend in the road, every tree I passed whispered what I should have done differently. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my knuckles were bone white on the wheel. The house looked the same. That made it worse. Lights on, curtains drawn, a new red car in the driveway, sleek and polished, nothing like the beat-up Volvo Claire used to drive. I sat there for a long time, engine off, staring at the front door like it was a portal to hell. Finally, I got out and knocked. 3 firm taps. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Claire stood there, barefoot, jeans, one of my dad's old flannel shirts hanging off her shoulders. Her hair was shorter now, her face older, but her eyes hadn't changed. She blinked once. "You came." I didn't answer. She stepped aside. "Come in." And like an idiot, I did. The first thing that hit me was the smell. Not rot, not mildew, not the staleness of death. It smelled clean. Lemon polish and fresh coffee. Like someone had been taking care of the place. Like someone lived here. "I wasn't sure if you'd show up," Claire said, closing the door behind me. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "You moved in fast." She didn't flinch. "Wilkins said you might react like this." "Like what? Like a son erased from his own family?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. She turned toward the kitchen. "Do you want coffee?" "I want answers." She paused with her hand on a cabinet door. "You always wanted things on your terms." "Still do, I guess." That stung more than it should have. I followed her in. The kitchen looked almost untouched, exactly like it had when Mom made Sunday pancakes. But now it felt different. Claire moved through the space like it belonged to her. Maybe it did. She poured 2 mugs, slid one toward me, then sat down across the island. "They asked me to stay after your dad got diagnosed." "I know that." "Then why the surprise?" "Because I didn't think staying meant inheriting everything." Her eyes locked onto mine. "You weren't here. Not when he screamed at night. Not when she forgot her own name. I bathed them, fed them, cleaned them when they soiled themselves." I swallowed. "I sent money. I called." "You called every couple of months. And the money stopped when your dad died." The truth of it silenced me. "They didn't just leave me the house," she said softly. "They left me their ghosts." I lifted the mug. The coffee was perfect. Of course it was. And the note. My voice cracked. That was Mom, right? Claire nodded. She wrote it the week before she passed. She knew I was coming. She hoped you would. I stared at the mug in my hands. The same one I used for cocoa when I was a kid. You and I started. Her gaze sharpened. We don't need to go there. Don't we? You think that didn't matter? Her voice cut like glass. You broke something and ran. And when they needed you most, you stayed gone. That landed like a punch to the gut. Because it was true. I stood abruptly. I shouldn't have come. Claire didn't move. Probably not. But you did. So what now? I didn't answer. I just walked out the back door, into a yard I hadn't seen in years. And for the first time since I landed, I let myself feel it. Guilt, resentment, the ache of being too late. And the bitter truth that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the victim in this story after all. I stayed out in the yard until the sun dropped behind the trees. The grass was too perfect. Claire must have been tending it, watering, trimming, even planting new hydrangeas by the old oak. Mom used to love those. The place looked more alive than it had when they were here. Or maybe it just finally had someone who cared. I wandered past the rusted swing set. One chain still hung broken from the time I'd kicked it in high school. I couldn't even remember why I was angry that day, only the yelling that followed. My father never tolerated damage. Or emotion. Or me, sometimes. I sank onto the back steps, elbows on my knees, and stared at the fading sky. That's when the screen door creaked open. Claire stepped out, then sat beside me. Not close, but close enough. You still clench your jaw when you're trying not to lose it, she said quietly. You still notice? Hard not to. The silence was heavy, not hostile. They never told me they changed the will, I said finally. Claire nodded. Your mom decided after your dad passed. She wanted someone in the house who wouldn't let it fall apart. And cutting me out completely? Not even a conversation? She tried, Claire said. Left voicemails. Letters. I frowned. I never got any. Because you never gave her an address that stuck. The truth hit like a stone in my gut. Every time I moved for work, I told myself I'd call, or visit, or write. I never did. It was always easier to stay gone. So what? This is what I deserve. I muttered. Her eyes were steady. Not cruel, just honest. It's not about what you deserve. It's about what you left behind. That cracked something open inside me. You know what's messed up? I said, my voice low. I thought if I stayed gone long enough, maybe they'd finally miss me. Maybe I'd finally matter. Claire looked away. You always mattered. Just not the way you wanted. The words gutted me. Was it easier for them without me? I asked. She picked at a loose thread on her jeans. Sometimes, yeah, but not better. I bit the inside of my cheek. You want to see the letters? She asked suddenly. I turned toward her. Letters. She nodded, then stood and went inside. When I followed, she opened a drawer in the old cabinet that used to hold report cards and family photos. She pulled out a stack of envelopes, some opened, others still sealed. She held them out. She wrote you every month after your dad died. Didn't know where to send them, so she left them with me. My hands shook as I took the bundle. My name was scrawled across each one in the tight, slanted script I hadn't seen in years. I slid one free. It was dated a week before she passed. Inside, my mother wrote that she was proud of me, that she wished I'd come home, that she understood why I didn't, and that she forgave me. My throat closed. I sank onto the arm of the couch, letter in hand. Claire watched for a moment, then slipped quietly out of the room. I didn't call after her. I just kept reading. I read until my eyes blurred. There were 12 letters. One for every month after my dad died. Each peeled back a version of my mother I hadn't known. Not the silent woman who stood at the stove while Dad and I fought. Not the one who told me to stop crying or she'd give me something to cry about. No, these were different. Softer. As if grief had stripped away her armor. She wrote about Dad forgetting her name in the middle of the night. About how he cried when he thought no one was watching. About how her hands shook too much to hold a lipstick. How Claire rubbed her back when the chemo racked her body and stayed even when she screamed. She never begged me to come home. Never blamed me. She just reached, month after month, across the distance I had built. And she ended every letter the same way. If you ever do come back, I hope you forgive me for making you feel like you had to leave. I didn't know what to do with that. The next morning, I woke up on the couch with the stack still on my chest. Sunlight pushed through the curtains. Claire was in the kitchen, barefoot again, making eggs like it was any other day. She slid a plate in front of me without a word. You always hated runny yolks, she muttered. You remembered that? A short, dry laugh. You think you're the only one who remembers things. We ate in silence. She moved around the kitchen with the ease of someone who belonged here. Finally, I asked, why didn't you tell me? That she was dying. That it was this bad. Claire looked at me like I was asking her to explain gravity. Would it have changed anything? I had no answer. Your mom asked me not to, she said. She said if you wanted to come, you would. That begging you wouldn't make it real. My fork stilled. She was right. Claire leaned back, arms crossed. You know, I hated you for a long time. I looked up. Not because of what happened with us, she said, but because you got to leave. And I didn't. The words hit harder than a slap. You think it was easy? She continued. Watching two people fall apart piece by piece. Cleaning them up, listening to them call your name in the middle of the night. Thinking you were someone else? No, I said, voice low. But you stayed gone. And that made it worse. Because they still loved you. Even when you didn't call. Even when you didn't write. They never stopped defending you. She rubbed her face, suddenly exhausted. And I had to stand in that space. Be the one who stayed. The one who watched them go. And the one who got the house as a thank you no one asked for. My throat ached. Do you even want it? I asked quietly. The house. The money. Any of it. Claire's eyes flicked away. That silence told me everything. And suddenly, it wasn't just about what I'd lost. It was about what she'd been forced to carry. The next day, I drove to the cemetery. A thin drizzle hung in the air, more mist than rain. It clung to my skin as I parked by the big maple tree at the edge of the lot, the same place we used to visit Grandpa. Their headstone was simple, polished granite. No quotes, just names, dates, and two hands carved together in prayer. I stood there for a long time, searching for words I wasn't sure they deserved. Finally, I knelt. I don't know if you thought this would help, I whispered, leaving me out, giving her everything, writing those words. But it didn't feel like justice. It felt like punishment. My fingers brushed the wet stone. I needed you to fight for me. Just once. One call where you didn't ask what I was doing wrong. One visit where you didn't compare me to someone else. My throat locked. I didn't stop loving you. I just couldn't love myself around you. The drizzle thickened into rain. But I get it now. You gave Claire the mess you couldn't hand to me. And she took it. I pushed myself up. My knees cracked. 37 years old, and I felt older. Before leaving, I placed one unopened letter at the base of the grave. It was dated the week after Dad died, the envelope still sealed. I didn't need to read it. I just needed them to know I had it. When I pulled back into the driveway, Claire was on the porch, arms crossed, eyes red. You read them all? She asked. I nodded. Most. She stepped aside, her hands trembling as she closed the door behind us. I want you to take the house, she said suddenly. That stunned me. What? You heard me. You grew up here. It should be yours. And do what? Move back in. Paint over the ghosts? Maybe. Or sell it. Burn it down. I don't care. Just take it. I shook my head. You think that fixes something? No, she admitted. But it's a start. I can't sleep here anymore. Every door creaks like it's calling me. Every photo frame stares. We stood there, two people crushed under a legacy neither of us asked for. Claire, I said carefully, why did you really stay? You could have walked away after what happened between us. So why? She gave a shaky laugh. You want the truth? Please. Her eyes met mine. For once, no anger, no armor. Because someone had to. And I was tired of running. That was the moment it hit me. We'd both been trying to make up for the same sin, abandonment. The only difference was, she stayed too long. And I left too soon. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the guest room. The same one my grandmother used when she visited from Vermont. Same floral curtains, same creaky closet door. But now the air felt heavier, like the walls had soaked up every unsaid word between me and my parents. At 2:13 a.m., I got up and wandered into the hallway. The floor still groaned outside their bedroom. The door was cracked open, a street lamp spilling a pale glow across the bed. Everything was untouched. The bedmate. My father's glasses folded neatly beside an old copy of Time. Claire hadn't moved a thing. I sat down on the edge of the mattress. It groaned under my weight, as if protesting. I opened the nightstand drawer. Inside, beneath old receipts and a half-used notepad, was a photograph I'd never seen. Me at 10, sitting on Dad's shoulders at the county fair. We were both laughing. Claire must have taken it. Behind it, another envelope. No name on the front. just folded paper inside. My hands shook as I opened it. The handwriting was messy, jagged. His. To my son. I never figured out how to talk to you. You were softer than me. Quieter. I didn't know what to do with that. My father beat the softness out of me. I thought it was the only way a man could survive. I passed that down to you. I shouldn't have. I wanted you tough because I thought it would keep you safe. But all it did was drive you away. Your mother saw the good. Claire saw the broken. And she stayed. If you ever come back, really come back, I hope you find what I never gave you. Peace. I folded the letter carefully, then placed it back exactly where I found it. I sat there until the light outside shifted from night to dawn. By morning, I made 2 cups of coffee. Claire was already at the kitchen table, laptop open, her eyes ringed with fatigue. You didn't sleep either? I asked. She shook her head. Didn't even try. I slid a cup across to her. Sat down. I found a letter, I said quietly. From him. Her hand stilled. He wrote a few near the end, she murmured. Burned most of them. Said none of them said it right. This one stayed. Then he meant it. We sat in silence, nursing black coffee and ghosts. Then, out of nowhere, she asked, You remember the 4th of July when the grill caught fire? I almost laughed. You mean when Dad threw the whole propane tank into the kiddie pool like he was saving the neighborhood? For the first time in years, she laughed. Really laughed. You screamed like hell. I was 11 and terrified. You were dramatic. And you loved that about me, I said before I could stop myself. Her smile faltered. She looked down. Yeah, she whispered. I did. And just like that, the air between us shifted again. Not healed, not fixed, but softer. The next morning, I drove into town. It had been years, but Main Street looked frozen in time. The diner still had its flickering neon sign. The hardware store still smelled like oil and dust. The window displays looked like they hadn't changed since the late 90s. The people had, though. Faces older, lines deeper. A few looked at me too long. The way people do when they recognize your last name, but can't quite decide whether it's pity or scandal they're remembering. I stopped at Murphy's barbershop. Murphy himself was gone. Cancer. But his son, Jake, was behind the chair now. Well, I'll be damned, Jake said when I walked in. If it isn't the runaway. You still giving uneven cuts? I shot back. Or did you finally learn how to fade? He grinned. Sit down. I didn't need a haircut. I just needed to remember what it felt like to belong somewhere. Jake draped the cape over me, clippers buzzing lazily. Heard about your folks. Sorry, man. They were complicated, but they loved hard. Yeah, I said quietly. They did. And Claire? She's still carrying that world on her shoulders? I nodded. Never put it down. Jake caught my eyes in the mirror. You forgive them yet? I hesitated. Not sure. Still working on forgiving myself. He snipped a little, then shrugged. That always takes the longest. When I walked back onto the street, my head felt lighter. Not just from the trim. From something else I couldn't quite name. Back at the house, I found Claire in the garden, knees in the dirt, hands deep in the soil. A red bandana held her hair back, sweat darkening her shirt. She looked like she was trying to sweat the ghosts out of the ground itself. Looks good, I said, leaning against the porch rail. She didn't glance up. They always wanted tomatoes. Never planted them. So you are. Somebody has to. I sat on the steps, watching her work. You should keep it, I said finally. The tomatoes? The house. She stood, brushed dirt from her hands, and finally looked at me. I thought you wanted it. I wanted what it represented. A way back in. But this place, it's yours now. You earned it. She walked closer, stopping just a few feet away. So what happens now? You disappear again? I shook my head. No, not this time. Then what? I was thinking, maybe I'd find a place nearby. Start over. Here? In this town? Yeah. Claire studied me, skeptical but softer than before. Why now, she asked. Because running stopped helping. And I'm tired of letting other people carry the weight I was too afraid to touch. She exhaled, glancing toward the trees, where the wind tugged at the branches like they were ready to break free. There's a place on Elm, she said. Used to be a florist. It's empty now. Could be something else. You think I'm ready for something else? I think you're ready to try. That night, I walked the old loop around the block. The one I used to sneak when I was a teenager, sneaking past curfew. Everything looked smaller now. Less threatening. When I got back, a mug of tea was waiting on the front step. Chamomile, my favorite. A note was taped to it. You're not the only one learning how to stay. And for the first time in years, something in my chest finally loosened. I slept through the night. The florist shop on Elm still smelled faintly of roses and mildew. I stood in the doorway, staring at cracked tile and dusted windows. A place once filled with color, now drained of it. But the light that filtered through the grime felt warm, like possibility. Claire met me there at noon, clipboard in hand, already looking like she owned the place. You really think this is a good idea? I asked. She shrugged. No, but it's better than staying frozen. We walked the space together. She pointed out where the light hit best, how the back room could be turned into a studio, an office, maybe even a small cafe. She made it sound less like a ruin and more like a beginning. You know, she said, pausing at the doorway, you're allowed to want something for yourself. It doesn't have to be penance. Feels like it does. Her eyes narrowed. Then you're not done punishing yourself. That night, I put in an offer. The place was cheap. No one else wanted it. But I did. Not because it was perfect. Because it was broken in all the right ways. Like me. Back at the house, Claire had dragged down a dusty box from the attic. Found something you might want, she said, dropping it onto the floor. Inside were VHS tapes, labeled in my mom's handwriting. Birthdays, vacations, school plays. I thought these were gone, I whispered. She couldn't watch them after you left, Claire said. But she couldn't throw them away either. We hooked up an old player. The tape crackled to life. There I was, 8 years old, missing front teeth, singing off-key at a Christmas pageant. Dad's laugh boomed behind the camera. Mom's voice scolded him to hold it steady. Claire leaned back against the couch, eyes glassy. You were such a weird kid, she said softly. Still am. Yeah, but now it suits you. By the third tape, we were quiet. Not the heavy silence from before, something gentler. The kind that holds you instead of breaking you. Eventually, Claire reached over and stopped the video. I should go, she said. You don't have to. I do. But you should stay. I walked her to the door. She lingered a moment, hand on the frame, as if debating something she'd never say. They loved you, you know, she said finally. Not always. No, but love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's clumsy, brutal, misguided, but it's still love. I swallowed hard. And us. Claire smiled faintly, biting her lip, still figuring that out. She stepped into the night. The porch light caught her hair as she walked down the steps. I closed the door behind her, turned off the lights, and let the silence feel like a beginning instead of an ending. A year later, the building on Elm had a new name stenciled on the window. Second draft. People asked me what it meant. I'd just shrug. Sometimes the first version isn't the one that sticks. Inside, it was a little bit of everything, books, coffee, art. But really, it was a place for people who didn't know where else to go. Which, funny enough, turned out to be most of the town. I opened every morning at 8. Jake from the barber shop was always my first customer, complaining but never missing a day. A retired teacher started a Wednesday poetry night. Even Claire stopped by sometimes. She'd sit in the back with tea, never staying long, but she came. And that was enough. We didn't talk about the house anymore. She kept it. I let her. I rented a small apartment above the shop with warped floors and a view of the alley. It wasn't much, but it was mine. That mattered more than I expected. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at the front door right before closing, waiting, hoping, not for anyone in particular, just for the feeling that someone important might walk through. One Thursday in October, Claire did. She didn't say much, just held up an envelope. I had the deed changed, she said. Half and half. I didn't take it right away. You sure? She nodded. I'm done carrying it alone. The past, the house, all of it. It's yours too. Always was. I set the envelope on the counter. Tea. Her smile was small but real. Chamomile. Only for you. We sat in the window booth. She stared out at the street like it had grown foreign overnight. You still writing? She asked. A little. Grief's easier on paper. Doesn't argue back. You always did need the last word, she said, smirking. Words are all I've got. Then she reached into her coat and slid something across the table. A cassette tape. Your mom, she said. Last few days, she had me record her. She rambled a lot, but there's something at the end you should hear. I took it gently. Thank you. Claire stood. Play it when you're ready. Or don't. It's not a burden. Just a choice. And then she was gone. That night, I borrowed an old player from the thrift shop. The audio was scratchy, her voice thin, but it was her. talking about flowers, about me, about love. At the very end, she said something that clung to my ribs and wouldn't let go. I didn't know how to love him right, but I loved him every day. I pressed pause. The silence rang. I looked around my little apartment. The secondhand furniture, the half-finished story on my desk, the shop below that smelled of books and coffee. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was running anymore. I felt home.